use strength. I guess I'm in the mood to debunk jiu-jitsu myths. So this is the next one. Don't use strength. When I first started training, I didn't understand why. Why would I not use strength? Like, if I use strength, I win. If I don't use strength, I lose. I thought the point was winning. So I was very confused, but everyone was always trying to say, you're using too much strength, you're muscling it, blah, blah. And I didn't understand that, but I was too embarrassed to say that I didn't understand it. But I kind of kept using strength anyway. Until then, I got to blue belt. My teacher kind of sat me down, and he wasn't very eloquent about it. But what he said was, I think you should take 5 steps back today so you can take 20 steps forward tomorrow. And even though that isn't really descriptive, I knew that he meant that I should basically stop using strength and let everybody else win. And so that's what I did for a really long time. And it messed me up psychologically, because he didn't really want everybody else to win. What he's saying is, if you rely on your strength, sooner or later you're going to have an opponent who is just as strong as you, and they also know jiu-jitsu, and you're going to lose. So you get a short-term gain for a long-term loss. And when we're talking about, like, the longer term you get into, the higher belt you get into, the less chance you're going to have to go back and fix that. It's like when you build a foundation of a house. If you build it half-assed, you're going to end up with a house that's never going to be solid, and sooner or later the house is going to fall down, right? And that is the same thing with jiu-jitsu. It's if you rely on your strength, if your strength is the biggest part of your game, sooner or later it will fail you. Either you get injured, or you get old, which happens to the best of us, or, like I said, you meet up with someone who is just as strong and also maybe on steroids, and also they know jiu-jitsu. So that's the deal with don't use strength, right? When it matters, when you're in a competition, yes, absolutely. Use strength, use everything you have. Like Mario Sperry said a long time ago, use all the gifts God gave you. The reason we don't use strength in training, or let me put it this way, sometimes we do, sometimes we don't. And that's what I feel like, rather than a blanket, admonition to just say, don't use strength, stop muscling it, which is not going to make sense to students who came here to fight, to win, students who are using jiu-jitsu. They're not just like, randomly laying on people. They are using jiu-jitsu. They're pulling off moves. If it's a kimura or a guillotine or whatever else, they are using jiu-jitsu. They're also using their strength. It's not going to make sense to them to tell them you can't use your strength, especially people who already feel like they're sort of the underdog in the situation. So, but I think would be more helpful to say, look, and to tell them specifically, don't leave it up to them. Say, okay, this round, Bob is going to use strength, Joe is not, and I will be watching you, right? And then the next round, change it. So now whoever, I forget who I said, Bob or Joe, whoever wasn't using strength is going to use strength. And just so people can experience both ways of doing things. Like, and I also think it's helpful to say to people, rather than like, don't use strength, okay, play like you're an 80-year-old woman. Play like you're a 5-year-old child. Play like you're a 19-year-old college wrestler, right? Because that's important too. People need to experience not using strength, but they also need to experience using this other kind of energy that's just like go, go, go energy, right? So I think that we need to be comfortable being different people on the mat, not always the same person, always the same energy. And I mean, like, I finally understood what my teacher told me at Blue Belt, looking at a guy I know who I really like a lot, and he reminds me so much of myself, but his energy is like opening a fire hydrant. I mean, and people don't really like to train with him because he's so strong and he has so much energy, and he does have jiu-jitsu, but it's not in proportion to his energy. And this is a guy who, if he would turn off the fire hydrant and just train with technique, he would be unstoppable. When he turns the fire hydrant back on, he would be unstoppable. He would kill everybody in the world. And fundamentally, that's what we want. yes, we want to beat our partner in open mat, but what we really want is to beat everybody in the world if we're going to be honest about it. So that's what don't use strength means.